Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now, mentioning a specific game title in an online listing for, say, a PC can really help to sell it. And what I mean more specifically by that is if you want to sell your gaming PC and you put Fortnite Gaming PC instead, then chances are you may get a little more interest. I've seen it before, and yeah, there are certainly plenty of listings that follow this criteria, and that's where I got the idea for this video. I wanted to buy the cheapest gaming PC that was advertised as capable enough to play Fortnite, just to see if it actually could, and it turns out that the cheapest one was actually quite close to me. Now, you've seen this PC before. This is the system that I pulled that cool Cooler Master Jet Engine CPU cooler from. We reviewed that in the last video, and just as a disclaimer, I have made a couple of changes since I picked this PC up. I paid £70 for this. It was originally listed for £90, which I thought was a bit expensive. To be honest, £70 was probably a little bit too much, but I wanted to buy it simply for the fact that it was advertised as a PC that could run Fortnite. To quote it exactly, it was listed as entry-level gaming PC plays Fortnite. Those were the exact words. Furthermore, when describing a photo that had been posted with the listing in regards to how the game performed, was smooth, no lag. That's an exact excerpt from the sentence. So yeah, when I saw the specs of this machine, I did have my doubts, and that's what led me to buy it. So I thought we'd actually see what this machine could do, and this was sort of a I bought this so you don't have to sort of thing. I didn't want anyone else ending up with this machine, especially as I read the specs and I wasn't sure whether or not it could handle the game itself. It was sort of to prevent anyone else buying it and being disappointed. That was my thoughts going into it, but of course we need proof of this, and I need to check whether or not it can actually run the game. So if it can, maybe I'll sell it on as a Fortnite gaming PC, but let's take a look. So this rig came with an Intel Core 2 quad processor, 5.5 gigs of RAM and an AMD 5570 graphics card. The description and title of the listing actually stated 6 gigabytes of RAM, but we got 5.5 in total. Two 2GB modules, a single 1GB module, and a 512MB module. The hard drive capacity was correct, and to be precise, it's a Seagate ST 3512CS 3.5 video HDD. It's a 5900 RPM drive. It's not present in the B-roll shots of the tower, as I removed it to clean the dust off and forgot to put it back until I tested the machine. My bad. I also replaced the Cooler Master Jet Engine style cooler with a Pentium 4 stock cooler, as it kept the Core 2 quad at a lower temperature under load, and it was a bit quieter. The 5570 is the Sapphire version with 1GB of DDR3 VRAM, and to power it all we have this 500W PSU, which I personally wouldn't use myself as it's not a well-known branded unit, but I would assume that it can handle these components just fine. At least I hope it can. It is of my opinion that this machine won't be able to do what it was advertised to do, and that is play Fortnite, Minecraft, World of Warcraft fine. That's another excerpt from the listing, and I should clarify that I do not own World of Warcraft, so I can't tell you how it would perform when using these components in combination. I do, however, have both Fortnite and the Java edition of Minecraft installed, so I guess we should see just how well both of those games run. The word fine can be interpreted differently person to person. Some people might consider 20 frames per second fine, and others may consider 60 frames per second fine. Personally, 30 frames per second is fine as long as it's smooth and there is no lag. Unfortunately, my personal standards of fine were not met, at least at 1080p resolution. The seller didn't specify which settings I'd need for a fine experience, so I tested the game at low settings with various resolutions to get an idea of how the game differed FPS wise. Low settings would also give the game the best chance of running smoothly. So I've been very careful not to mention the seller, where exactly I bought the machine from, or to show you any of the quotes I've read from the description. The reason for that is because I always want to try and respect a person's privacy, and I harbour no ill will to the seller at all. I think the mark has been missed slightly with the description, but we all make mistakes. So let's bump the game down to 900p. We still saw some serious frame drops here, though the frame rate did sometimes go above 30 FPS. The PC could have been built and tested before the latest Fortnite update, in which case it may have run the game fine at that time, but as of the 15th of August 2020, it isn't very smooth. I then dropped the resolution to 50% of 1080p, which is 540p, and again performance wasn't ideal for me. The trouble is, the processor was already struggling at 1080p, so dropping the resolution meant that it had even more work to do. And if it was already finding it difficult to handle the game at full HD, 540p isn't going to make things better. Honestly, I thought the graphics card would be the limiting factor going into this, but that's actually being held back by the Core 2 Quad. Lastly, I dropped the resolution down to 25% of 1080p or 480 by 270. I knew this wouldn't really help all that much, but I said I'd test various resolutions, so here we are. I will therefore have to conclude that this PC can't play Fortnite to what I'd personally define as a fine standard, but we have yet to test out Minecraft. Now, I filmed the Minecraft gameplay off the screen here as my laptop that I use for external capture ran out of battery halfway through testing, and as of yet I haven't been able to find the charger. Minecraft actually ran very well though, using the game's fast settings, so I do believe it should have been advertised as maybe a Minecraft PC, if the seller wanted to include a name of a game in the title. CSGO was another game that I tested and one that wasn't mentioned in the title or the description, but it ran with close to 60 frames per second, which is what I'd recommend as the ideal frame rate to exceed in a first-person action title. It wasn't a constant at 60 FPS, but the game presented what I'd call a good enough experience when using this PC, comprised of the Core 2 Quad and 5570. So there we go, this machine, whilst it wasn't exactly ideal for running Fortnite, could handle Minecraft just fine. How well it will do in World of Warcraft, well, I said before I can't really hazard a guess as I don't own the game to test it, but yeah, if anyone out there has got similar specs, do let me know in the description below. Now, I can't quite recall, but I seem to remember testing a Core 2 Quad in Fortnite before and experiencing better performance than this. Don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure, but I've certainly used other weak processors in the past that have handled the game fine, so maybe it was the latest update, whatever that was before the 15th of August 2020, that really crippled the performance as far as the CPU usage is concerned. If you want to build a Fortnite PC, don't use these specifications. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like on it down below, leave a dislike if you didn't, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.